Hey guys, I hope you're hungry. Welcome to Full Incense and War Stories. So, it's almost May the 4th, or it just was May the 4th, or something. It's the week, it's Star Wars week. So in honor of that, we've been having a lot of Star Wars stuff on the channel lately. Of course, War Stories is always on Star Wars Battlefront. But we're gonna have a Star Wars topic today as well. And the topic is the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Okay, so a little bit of history for those of you that don't know. So in 1978, which was the year after A New Hope, Episode 4, Star Wars itself, was first in theaters in 1977, in February of 78, there was a book released written by Alan Dean Foster. That book was called Splinter of the Mind's Eye. And that book was a possible sequel detailing what might happen when Leia and Luke would encounter Vader in their further adventures. Now, this book was really never canon. Canon, a word denoting real, what's true, what is in the established hierarchy, the established plot lines and storylines of a given product. Like all the Marvel movies are canon, all the Star Wars movies are canon. This book, I don't believe, ever was truly considered canon. And it was invalidated when Empire Strikes Back came out in 1980. But that established the idea, the principle, the world of what came to be known as the Star Wars Expanded Universe, which is and was the comics, video games, books, TV shows, everything outside the main 6, now 7 Star Wars movies that filled in the blanks in the galaxy far, far away. So after the movies concluded, the Expanded Universe stayed nascent. There were a few Dark Horse comics, some things here or there, but nothing really organized and nothing really definite. That changed in the early 1990s when Timothy Zahn wrote a trilogy of novels called the Grand Admiral Thrawn Trilogy. Well, not called that, but that came to be known as the Grand Admiral Thrawn Trilogy. They detailed an alien named Thrawn who was able to unite the remnants of the Empire following the deaths of Palpatine and Vader at the end of Return of the Jedi. And this Thrawn was able to join these fragments of the Empire together to bring the Republic to its knees. The first book was called Heir to the Empire, and then it was Dark Force Rising, and culminated with The Last Command. Those 3 books were considered widely to be well written and the sequels that were never made. And they were so popular that they truly launched the Expanded Universe in a big, big way. So by the time that the prequel trilogy was beginning to be written, there was already a lot of things in place, especially afterwards. So the Expanded Universe just grew from there. You had kids series that talked about Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and their training together. Or another one with Obi-Wan and Anakin in much the same vein. You had a kids horror series like Goosebumps called Galaxy of Fear. Basically anything you could think of. There was Boba Fett's backstory. If you ever wondered why people are such big fans of Boba Fett when he does nothing but look cool and have a terrible death in Return of the Jedi, it's because there are all these novels telling the story of his exploits and why he has such a rivalry with Han. How did Han get the Millennium Falcon from Lando? What was the event that Han was sure that Lando had forgotten about that led to him being uneasy about them enlisting Lando's help in Empire Strikes Back? How did Han and Chewie first meet? How did the rule of 2 that Yoda mentions in Episode 1 about only being one master and one apprentice in the Sith, how did that come about and why? All these are questions that were firmly answered by the Star Wars Expanded Universe, which started off as very disorganized and crazy, but eventually had people governing it and deciding what would be canon and what wouldn't. And it was a very well-maintained and established canon. And a lot of things that were written into these books eventually became part of, the Clone Wars TV show or other things that were way more in the public eye than, big groups of novels. So the big reason I talk about this is when Disney purchased Lucasfilm in April of 2014, they made the sweeping decision that the expanded universe, all of it, was no longer to be considered canon. I may be incorrect, but at the time of their decision, the animated Clone Wars movie, the 3D animated Clone Wars show, the 6 movies, that was all that was left as canon after Disney acquired it. And I mean, the reasons for that are clear. They're not gonna, you know, they don't want to have to worry about people saying, oh, well, that's not how it really happened, when it came time to make their own movies and do their own stories, which was understandable and fine and was no surprise to me. So Disney made their choice. They made episode 7, which you would be surprised with the number of plot lines that it keeps. Like Han and Leia having a child that turns to the dark side was a well-established facet of the old expanded universe chronology, as just one example. So when Disney did this, they did not want to stop losing the revenue that they had from this expanded universe. So what they did is they branded it as Legends, and there were 2 chronologies essentially. The Legends continuity that still had everything it had ever had, and all the books were thereafter released with a little Legends branding, and then their new, what is now canon, which includes, you know, the episode 7 and its novelization, and all the new books that have come out since. Tarkin, Bloodlines, Shattered Empire, all the books that have been released basically since 2014. Well, there were a few that finished up the old. Well, they didn't finish it up, and that's really why we're here. So in the last few weeks, at the time of recording at least, I think it's been a couple of months now, some fans got together and set up a billboard with the tagline with hashtag Give Us Legends. So what these fans are after and are interested in is that Disney should not, you know, starting at episode 8, say that Luke was married to Mara Jade, the old Emperor's hand that he met following Return of the Jedi. No. They're not saying that, oh, Ben's name is actually Jason Solo like it was in the old expanded universe. No. What they want is for the Legends continuity to be continued in its own way. What that means is they want to have 2 separate universes. You may or may not know DC has, well, I don't know if DC does right now because they keep doing crazy things with their chronology, but Marvel has Earth 2, Earth 624, I think it is our world. It has the cinematic universe. Marvel has lots of different continuities going on at the same time that tell their own different stories. It was originally done in DC to explain why, if Superman has been the same person all along, but Flash has been different people at different periods of time, then how does that make sense? It's just to reconcile plot holes. So the Give Us Legends movement, I guess you could say, they bought a billboard and they are begging Lucasfilm to continue these stories because there were a lot of dangling plot threads. They had just wrapped up the biggest ongoing storyline of the thing was called Outcast. I think that was the name of the first book, and it was about how after Jason Solo, who is the evil son of Han and Leia, gets defeated, the Jedi basically get kicked out of the Republic because they're too dangerous, because all the wars are from Jedi conflicts, essentially. So that was the plot of that. Very, very truncated, you know, just to explain what's going on here. So that series finished, but there was still a lot. I mean, the Legends continuity, the expanded universe continuity, still had a lot to say. So what these fans want is for that to be continued. And if you couldn't tell by the fact that I'm talking about this at all, or you know how much I know about it, I love the expanded universe, and I still love it. I haven't purchased a single thing from the new continuity, and it's very disappointing to me that they chose to go about it the way they did. It's not a surprise, but it's a disappointment. And I think that it's not too much to ask that could be respected as its own separate entity, which is what these fans are asking. So the hashtag Give Us Legends, hashtag Legends Never Die, which I think is the catchier one. because of Sandlot, if nothing else, are just wanting to continue those stories, because I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Besides maybe Pokemon, but it's close, Star Wars is my favorite thing in the world. I've been obsessed with Star Wars as long as I can remember. And a huge reason for that shaped my personality and who I am and what I do with my life, is the expanded universe. I think it is a huge reason of why, you know, I consider myself to be, you know, a good speaker, a good writer, that sort of thing, was because I had a very good vocabulary growing up. And that was because I didn't want to read the kids' Star Wars books, which especially didn't exist when I was first in elementary school, so I had to read the adult ones. So I was reading 400-page Han Solo novels in elementary school. And it shaped me as a person because I learned to form my sentences better, I learned better vocabulary. I'm not advocating for kids to read more, although, you know, of course they should, but I am advocating that stories that people loved and characters they fell in love with should not be forgotten and dismissed because Disney doesn't like them anymore and they want to have their own toys. Because there are characters that were firmly established by these that are better and more loved to me and to many other fans than many characters in the movie. And I'm not just talking about prequels, which are easily dismissed. Like when you think of, so Thrawn, who was the main antagonist of the Thrawn trilogy written by Timothy Zahn that really inspired everything, is a really cool bad guy. He's an alien, which we had previously never seen the Empire employ. He's a genius. With the way he uses his tactics and his military mind, and just the way he's characterized as being just so, you know, cool in the face of everything. And his grand strategy for defeating a people is he studies their artwork, because he says that lets him understand all he needs to know about their military and the way their minds work. That's so cool. That's really interesting. And I mean, yes, you could easily say that the expanded universe had a lot of crazy stuff. There were clones of Luke, clones of Emperor Palpatine. It went off the rails a few times, but Mara Jade is Luke's wife, and she always will be, into some part of me. Han and Leia had 3 kids, twins named Jason and Jaina, and a son named Anakin. And Luke is the one that had a son named Ben. Like, it's just, and it seems like they're picking and choosing certain things that they like. In the trailer for Rogue One, it showed a person in a Grand Admiral uniform, which was firmly established in the continuity by being the outfit of Grand Admiral Thrawn. So they do, and then of course Kylo Ren's character is modeled after Jason. So it's not like they are ignoring them, they're just taking what they like and rebranding it themselves, which in some ways to me is worse, and it's certainly disrespectful. I love Force Awakens. I'm so excited to get more Star Wars stuff, you know, for the foreseeable future. But I don't think, but at the cost of the expanded universe, which I loved and eternalized and memorized, it's tough. It's tough. Like, to this day, you know, people ask me Star Wars questions, you know, not often enough in my everyday, as you might imagine, but it happens. You know, I can answer them. Oh, well, Han met Chewie when he saved him from an Imperial slave line. The Imperial guards were about to kill Chewie because he refused to kowtow. So Han killed the Imperials to save him, and it ended up with Han being blacklisted from the Imperial Navy. Yeah, Han used to fly TIE fighters. You didn't know that? How would you think he became such a cocky, amazing pilot? He used to fly a ship that has no shields. TIE fighters don't have shields? Yeah, that's right. That's how they are. They use it all for speed. But none of that is true anymore, because they're all just legends now. Legends means myths. Legends means it didn't happen. And to me, they happen just as much as any of it. So Lucasfilm, Disney, give us legends. I hope this, you know, impassioned little time teaches you how important it is to me. Maybe it'll be important to you. And they still sell them. They still want to make the money. So run over to a bookstore and get Heir to the Empire. It was the first and still one of the very best. The first book of the Thrawn trilogy, that's a really good starting point. The Han Solo trilogy of novels is excellent. The Boba Fett trilogy, starting with The Mandalorian Armor, is another good one. All books I grew up on that really established what the expanded universe is to me and grew my love of Star Wars that I hold to this day. But that'll do it for me today. Follow up on the story. They have their own website. It's all Give Us Legends, Twitter, their own website, everything like that. So I hope you enjoy. Take the time to read Star Wars. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any war stories. They're not always so preachy, so make sure you don't miss a single one every Tuesday and Thursday. I have other content coming every single day, but that's going to do it for me today, guys. I don't know about you, but I'm full.